All right, so I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about whatever I want to talk about, actually. I'm just going to talk about putting these pistons in. The original pistons that came with a 4010 engine, I believe, were 5-ring pistons. And later, pistons came through with 4 rings. And now they are a 3-ring piston. Piston ring technology has changed over the years. The first pistons had with the 5 rings and the 4 rings, they were straight cut piston rings. They were flat. It didn't matter whether there was a top or a bottom to them. They were just flat cut, and it took 4 compression rings and 1 oil ring, or actually I believe it was 3 compressions and 2 oil rings, 1 above the piston pin and 1 oil ring below the piston pin, which created a tremendous amount of friction, for one thing. Plus there's hydraulic pressure that would happen as the oil came through the floating wrist pin. So they did away with those pretty quickly, from what I understand. This engine was designed for 1.5 gallons or 6.5 quarts. It was 6.5 quarts of oil, according to my father. I have the original service manual for it, and I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to argue with him, but I'm pretty sure it was 6.5 quarts. But the later engines came through with a 2-gallon system oil pan, which there was no difference. The oil pan was the same. What they did was they actually just shortened the dipstick, and by 2 quarts or a quart and a half, and that gave you an extra quart and a half of oil, because these engines, they just didn't have enough oil cooling and enough oil volume to cool fast enough, and there were overheating problems in the earlier 10 series tractors. The 4020, still the same damn thing. There's no difference in the oil pans on the 4020s than there were in the 4010s, just a shorter dipstick. Yet a shorter dipstick, even a shorter dipstick than in the 4020s, 4010s. So what they did was, you're probably wondering, why would a shorter dipstick increase the capacity of the oil pan? Well, it doesn't. The oil pan can inherently hold more oil than the gallon and a half or 6.5 quarts of oil that you would put in there. It's just, it would hold more. Now, you need to have the correct amount of oil in there, because if you don't, you're going to have what you call windage. Windage is when the crankshaft is smacking into that oil that's in the pan. And that's not good. It robs a considerable amount of power from your engine when you're smacking that oil. Original gasoline engines, like from the late 1800s into the 1900s, and they're what you call a dip style connecting rods. And what they would do is they would actually dip down into the oil and smack it up against the side of the block or the pan, creating a mist of oil. And there was actually a pickup tube at the bottom of the oil pan. And those engines didn't last nearly as long as a pressurized system like the 4010 or even later engines into, if you want to talk about gasoline engines up into the 20s, they were still working on pressurized systems, and they perfected it. It is what it is. I would rather have a high-flow, low-pressure system rather than a low-flow, high-pressure system, because pressure creates friction, friction creates heat, heat kills an engine. So just my thoughts on there. Now, I'm going to get to the last point of what I want to talk about, and that is the trolls, or the people that think they know better about building engines. I do not know everything there is about building engines. I do know how to rebuild these motors. I've done them before with awesome success rate, and I just don't have any problems. You don't have to be in a sterile environment with perfect conditions and perfect specs and all this other stuff, to rebuild a diesel engine. This thing spins at 2100 RPMs. It's 81 horsepower. I have built the 4430 motor was a hot sled, that thing. Actually, it's a very hot motor. That's like 225 horsepower right now. I built that one, and it's still together, working okay. No problems. I mean, I don't use it every day, but I am going to be doing some work to it here pretty soon. But with that being said, the reason I'm doing these videos isn't for my enjoyment. It is kind of. It is for my enjoyment. I mean, I love doing these videos. I love showing people that you can do a lot of things with little. I mean, as you can see, you look around my shop here, it's dirty, filthy, there's no overhead cranes, there's no perfect, environment here. Obviously, I'm running a shop heater, and it's annoying to hear it on video, but it is there, and it's what is keeping me somewhat warm within this, 15-degree days that I'm dealing with. As you can see, Teresa's wrapped up really tight. But these negative comments that I'm getting, they don't really bother me personally. What bothers me about them is there's a lot of young minds that are out there that are, considering a field in mechanics or engine overhauling or tractor repair or any of these things that I'm mentioning, or they have their grandfather's tractor that's set in a barn or outside, and maybe it's locked up, or maybe they just want to get it going, and they're watching these videos to see if they can do it. And I'm showing them that, yes, they can do it. You don't need a perfect shop. You don't need fancy tools. You don't need, all the things that 99% of YouTube channels that specialize in engine overhauls and rebuilds, have. I am doing this in my dirty old shop. And there's a lot of young folks or people that have never attempted this that would like to, that are watching these videos and saying, wow, this guy's doing it. And then they scroll down to that beautiful comment section down there where all the idiots are saying, oh, you wouldn't know how to build an engine. That's going to fail. You put the connecting rods in backwards. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. You did the other damn thing wrong. And, quite honestly, I didn't do any of it wrong. I just did it the way I have done it all my life. There have been some John Deere technicians come on here and said that I'm doing just fine. So, I'm not building airplane motors where people's lives are at stake. I'm building a 1963 John Deere 4010 engine that is going to probably run for 10,000 hours with this overhaul. Not because I'm so awesome at it, but because the lubrications that are here are way better than they were back in 1963. So the point that I'm trying to make with these negative comments is that they are discouraging the young minds that are maybe thinking about doing this job that I'm doing, and I would like to see that stop. Okay, so, got it?
Yep, it's rolling.
This checks the clearance. Acceptable is, I think it's like 6,000ths. So we're there in that 3,000ths range. Actually, we're in that 2.5 to 3,000ths range. So we're within tolerance. We're actually right in the middle of the road. We're right where we belong. Because when I torque that thing down, all it does is it squishes that piece of plastic.
Yeah.
And then that tells you how thick it is, and then you take it up to the little gauge. 2 1,000ths is the red one, 3 1,000ths is the white one. So I'd say the 3 1,000ths, it's bigger than 4 1,000ths. It's right at the 3 1,000ths. So when I torque that, that'll actually be a little bit closer, an infinitesimal amount. I mean, just a tiny little amount closer. And it's non-effective. I mean, it won't hurt anything if I just leave that plastic on there. But I just want to take it off. But that's it. That's your plastic gauge. They're all gauging out within tolerances, so now what I'm going to do is dump that piston back in there. And I'm going to coat that sucker with grease. Very important to grease the piss out of these things. When I say very important, I mean it. This thing's going to start up start them. So if you're not lubricated, and I mean, don't be shy. This is the one time in your life you're going to be allowed to be a liberal. It's when you're putting in grease on these bearings. Other than that, be conservative. Got me? Do you follow, my love?
You're not talking dirty, are you?
Huh?
You're not talking dirty, are you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I was slipping in some political innuendos. Thing. You know, be conservative. Except when you're putting grease on bearings for an engine. Okay? See how I did that? Yeah, it went from 65 degrees yesterday to fucking cold today. Right? Right?
Right.
Right. So, people are wondering if you're still alive.
Me?
Yeah, are you still alive?
Still
I
alive.
only hear your voice.
Barely.
I did. They only hear your voice. They never see your pretty face.
So what?
Huh?
It's not my channel, it's your channel.
Well, you're the sexiest thing on this
Oh,
channel.
shut up. Soon won't be no.
Huh? What did I do?
Not.
You better behave yourself because I can rewind that.
Huh?
I can rewind that.
Rewind away, sweetheart.
Oh, righty then. Let's see, does he still spin? Yeah. That's crazy. I put these motors together, and every time you add something, it creates more friction. By the time you get to the second or third piston, usually it's too tight to turn by hand.
Yeah.
So either those pistons are extremely sloppy,